Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meridian Tech's first live stream. This is our brand new live stream show called The Ascent, because we know on your journey to get from here to there, whatever there looks like for you, we want to support you on that journey. So my name is Julie Griffin. I am from the Workforce and Economic Development Division here at Meridian, and I am your host today. And I am excited to introduce to you our first guest for the season. His name is Joe Steele, and he is my coworker here, and he is our apprenticeship coordinator, and he is going to talk to us all about apprenticeships, how they've changed over the years, and the benefit they are to employers and employees in our district. So without further ado, Joe, welcome to the show.
Hi, Julie. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and thank you so much for agreeing to be my first guinea pig for the show.
Absolutely.
Joining from 2 offices away. But I think it's fun to be able to do this and kick off with our team and be able to introduce to the world, really feasibly, what we're doing here at Meridian in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and how it can benefit people here, but not only here, but also in other areas of the country.
Yeah, very good. It's fun to talk about. It's an exciting topic that is really getting some traction fast. So I enjoy explaining what we're doing and hopefully showing other people how to do it as well.
Yeah, for sure. And before we get too far into it, I just want to say, if you're here watching, I know I have this streaming to my personal LinkedIn as well as my personal YouTube. It is on Meridian's official page, Meridian's YouTube page, and I think you have it paired to your Facebook page as well. Is that correct?
I believe I do. Yes.
Okay.
I think I see somebody in the chat. A friend of mine, Ethan Barrett, is watching on Facebook. So I think we are successful at that part.
We are successful. Yes. Thank you for mentioning that, because I hadn't turned the chat back on. So Ethan, thank you for being here and thank you for commenting. That's what I was getting at, is if you're here watching, please comment. Hi, Chris. He's one of the live streaming geniuses that I know from LinkedIn. And Taylor, thanks for being here. Taylor is here at Meridian with our marketing department. So yes, if you're here watching on LinkedIn or Facebook, yes, Chris, we are broadcasting everywhere, spreading the word. So yes, if you are here, please drop a message, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn. We can see you here on our side, and we want to engage in the conversation with you. That's one of the things that makes live streams so fun, is you can have an interactive conversation versus just one-way communication. So just to get us started, Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and how you came to be in this apprenticeship coordinator position?
So, yeah, it's a little bit of a crooked path. I went into more of an agriculture route right out of high school, and then ended up going back into manufacturing, just mostly because of the lucrative opportunities in manufacturing compared to agriculture. And so we were a kind of a small business welding manufacturing business here locally, and the economy of 2008 caused us to make some changes, and I was able to secure an instructor's position here at Meridian at that time of the economy, with full plan of it being a temporary position, to until we could get back into business. And so the fun part was I really enjoyed it. Of course, that was 13 plus years ago, and I never left Meridian. And so one of the most enjoyable parts about teaching people a trade was seeing that transition from school to work. And that was one of the most rewarding parts, but also one of the most challenging parts, was helping a student that could learn how to do the skill and then transition them into the successful position at work. And sometimes that's where they had the most trouble. So when Meridian had a vision, it's been 2 or 3 years ago now, a vision of incorporating the apprenticeship style of training model into more of what we're already doing well. And I like that model, because that was the part about teaching the trade that I liked the most. And so in June of this year is when they opened a position for a full-time apprenticeship coordinator. And now I'm able to help any student or business kind of pair this, what I call a three-way partnership between a student and an employer and a instruction provider, which is the school, where we can all work together to help somebody learn a trade and or skill. It doesn't have to just be a trade. Learn something and put that into practice at work. And that's the apprenticeship model, where we all come together to help people find jobs, get jobs, keep jobs. And it's just a win-win for everybody. It makes sense for what we're already doing.
Very good. And I think that's awesome that you have the industry perspective, the instructor perspective, and have worked with those students who are entering the workforce. So I think that really kind of prepared you to fulfill this role in the best way possible, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think it did. The business part was, finding good employees was always the hardest part of running your own business. And it almost seems like the smaller you are, the maybe the harder that is. And that's maybe not accurate. Somebody with really big business might say that's still the hardest part. So it probably is one of the biggest struggles. So being able to have been on both sides of that, I think really helps me understand their perspective as the business owner, and then of course the school part as an instructor, and then just simply enjoying seeing people succeed. Like I get a lot of satisfaction from those students that are able to change their life or change their whole family's life, and with a skill or a trade that gives them a better opportunity in life.
Yep, absolutely. So I know you mentioned finding employees is a challenge for employers of all sizes, whether they're small mom and pop shops or larger entities, and we have both in our district that we serve and around the state. So kind of tell us a little bit more about how the apprenticeship model can help those staffing needs for those companies that are of varying sizes.
Well, the biggest advantage to apprenticeship is we're able to put people to work sooner. And so traditionally you would go to school for a set amount of time, maybe a year, up to 2 or 3 years, to get the training you need and then transition into work. So the best thing about the apprenticeship model is it can happen at a much earlier stage of their time. So we're exploring. This is all new, so we're just starting several different things, and we think we can take a student without any skills in a certain area and maybe get them to a point within 6 or 8 or 10 weeks where they are somewhat valuable to an employer. And at that point, they can no longer have to be a full-time student. They can be a full-time employee and a part-time student. And then instead of a training taking maybe 1 year to complete, we're going to partner with them through the apprenticeship model at work, and the training might stagger out for 2 or 3 years, but they're here a lot less. And the big benefit is they're getting paid while they're learning. So it's always, on the job learning has always been a thing that we promote in any kind of program. So it seems like students learn better on the job, or as good, or sometimes better at work than they do at school. So when we can leverage that type of training, and it's a benefit to the employer and a benefit to the student, and they get a paycheck, and everybody wins again. So it takes a little bit longer. I mean, it's more of a commitment than just a short-term commitment to a course, but they're in it for the long haul, which also contributes to the employer having an employee that's in it for the long term as well.
Yeah, I can see that being a big benefit, to have somebody that is going to be there for a set amount of time versus, I'm thinking maybe they're just going to job hop for another quarter, as we have heard happens. Want to dig into that a little bit more. So you mentioned the apprenticeship model allows students to go to work sooner rather than the traditional model. What does that sooner time frame look like?
Well, it's different for anybody. And the thing every time I talk about apprenticeships, I always say the same thing, that one of my early presentations that I watched somebody else talk about would say, if you've seen one apprenticeship, you've seen one apprenticeship. And that pretty much sums it up, because every apprenticeship is a little bit different. Every student is a little bit different. Every employer is a little bit different. And so that causes every scenario to be absolutely different, but we have the luxury. That's what the technology centers are known for, is to be able to respond to needs and respond to employers and trends in training and trends in workforce. And we can respond and build programs and design training opportunities that match those needs, that can be basically customized to match what they need. So when I say sooner, it just, and the other thing is when I talk about this stuff, the answer is almost always, well, it depends, because it depends on
Right.
the age of the student, the other obligations they have, the needs of the employer, and whether that's a part-time opportunity or a full-time opportunity. And the other cool part that I haven't mentioned yet is some of our students would not be able to take advantage of a training opportunity any other way, with
Mm.
financial obligations to have to be at work and don't have time to be at school. This gives sometimes an opportunity where they can be learning and be working at the same time, and in a way that they would maybe not been able to take advantage of this.
Awesome. That's huge. I could see that really being, it sounds cliche to say life-changing, but absolutely life-changing for some individuals who are, have those obligations and need to take care of their family and want to better themselves. But if you're not earning money at the same time, that can be really prohibitive. And I know you and I have seen firsthand some of the comments that people have made after they get training to go into one of those higher skill jobs about the impact that it does have on their families. And I think being able to contribute to that versus hinder them is a big thing.
Yeah, it really is life changing. I don't think it's cliche, because it is, and I get passionate about it because that's what brings me joy, is being able to help people and see that success. So, I mean, after so many years of teaching young people a skill, I've seen enough times that it is life changing, and it does. I can story after story, but it changes, generational change. It's not just that person; you're
Absolutely.
changing that person's family and their families.
Yep. I love what Jacqueline said, is like we have the ability to meet people where they're at.
Oh, absolutely.
That's huge, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
I was in a discussion yesterday with one of our other employees here at Meridian, and it's just different now, because we don't just hand them what we can do for them. We ask them what we can do for them, and we can build it around that, and uh, make programs that fit right now. We'll probably get more specific about some of the areas that we're working on here, and I've got ways that we can build it to fit exactly what they need at the exact right time.
Very good. So I know your background is in welding, and I think when people think of trade schools and trades in general, they think of like the manufacturing field, like welding mechanics, things like that. So what, I guess, trade areas or training areas that we offer here at Meridian are you working with on this apprenticeship model, and which ones have you got the ball rolling with?
The long answer is I have a vision for it to be all of them, because
Okay.
I think it does fit, and I think there are opportunities in almost everything that we teach at Meridian currently. The short answer is where we're working at right now, and I'll go into a little bit of why. I mentioned that 2 or 3 years ago there was discussion about apprenticeships and how that might be a good complement to what we're already doing. And the first program that was talked about in was the heating and air conditioning. And the
Okay.
reason it was is we have Travis Snowden is our instructor for HVAC. He does an amazing job, and because he does an amazing job, he's got a fairly lengthy waiting list for people that want to get in the program. And then as our community grows, there's more and more jobs in that field, and as our existing workforce continues to age, there's more and more opportunities with people leaving the trade for retirement. So it's just like a perfect storm of we need more people, and we don't know how to get them fast enough. So I think it was maybe about 2 years ago, Titus Lester incorporated an evening program for the HVAC program that would be able to serve a few more students, and they've built that. Between Travis and Titus, have built a very successful program there. They brought in a instructor from industry that's doing a great job. So everything is working well, and when we have that opportunity for that. So one of my first goals was to get some more structure to an apprenticeship model that would help with that program, and that's where we started. So we met with several industry employers in that trade, asked them what they needed, told them what we thought we could do, and started building the model from there. And as of this week we've got, or so let me back up. We started there and we got approval through the U.S. Department of Labor to be a sponsor for an apprenticeship in heating and air conditioning. And that means it's, nationally recognized. We meet all the criteria to manage apprenticeships in that area. And so we started getting employers on board. And we have 6 or 8 employers that have already agreed to the guidelines of the program. And then we've got 8 apprentices currently at work with different employers in the area on the registered apprenticeship model. So that one's exciting.
And is that is all in the heat on the heat and air side?
Yeah, that's all heating and air conditioning.
That's awesome.
In the Stillwater and Guthrie area.
Very cool. So within, less than a year of you taking this role and getting things figured out, you've already got, you said 6 to 8 businesses.
Yeah, there's 6 or 8 businesses.
And 8 apprentices working at it. Like that is awesome. I think that's just a testament to the need of the industry and our ability to meet the needs. And of course, your commitment to the employers and the trainees, the workforce people, to get that training and to go to work. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And the fun part is it's not that much different than what they were doing anyway. I mean, they were still, some of the students come from the full-time program, but there's still a certain amount of training that has to happen and learning and on-the-job learning hours that have to take place before people are eligible to take their journeyman's test. So, really what we're doing is not a big stretch from what was happening anyway. We're just formalizing it, helping them leverage some funding that's available to support that, which is another big part of what I do is, matching up all those ways that make this a really good option for employers and students. And then just helping them with the parts that are harder for them. It's like some of the, what I hear the most of is like learning codes and preparing for journeyman tests and things that we can do as a school or an instruction provider that are easier for us to do well than it is for an employer to do well. So we let them do their part that they do well, and we do our part well, and all come together for the same goal.
That's awesome. I think anytime you can, I don't want to say stay in your lane, but do what you do well and let other people do what they do well and then come together to build something beautiful. I think that's when everybody benefits. So I know we had talked about mentioning the difference between registered apprenticeships, which I think is what you've been talking about thus far, but I know you've also talked about non-registered apprenticeships. So what do those look like and how are we utilizing those?
A non-registered apprenticeship is more consistent with a customized class.
Okay.
The difference is it's on a time frame of like an apprenticeship model. And so instead of, let me back up, a registered apprenticeship is always going to be at least a year long. Most of them are 3 or 4 years long. And so some things that people need to learn, an upskill or a specific part of a trade or something else that doesn't really take a year to learn, we can build a program for those folks that match their needs and say maybe we have some things going right now in the industrial technology program here at Meridian. That's Cody Irwin's class in the power and energy section of our curriculum. So there's a piece of his curriculum that our employers requested, which is industrial electricity. Well, it doesn't match a full registered apprenticeship. It matches more like a custom class. So instead of giving them what this one is 90 hours, instead of saying, hey, here's a class for 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks or however long it takes to get 90 hours in of class time, we're going to give you all the information and then you're going to go put it all into practice. What we're doing with them is we're giving them class 6 hours a week and they're remaining at their job the other 34 hours a week. And what they're learning in the classroom, they're putting it to practice at work and then they come back. So we have that higher level of instructor interaction over a longer amount of time. So they're in that program for 15 weeks, 6 hours a week. And we call it an apprenticeship because that's the style of learning that an apprenticeship is, but it's not big enough to be a registered apprenticeship.
Okay. So it's more of a flexibility thing. And like Tyler said, we're able to adapt it and there are options so that those who need the training can utilize this model but in a non-traditional sense. I guess that's what makes it the non-registered, right?
Yep, absolutely. And
Very good.
we're just responding to industry
Mm-hmm.
questions and asks. That whole idea came out of an advisory board meeting. So
Mm-hmm.
all of our programs at Meridian have what we call business and education council members and meetings, and we have advisory boards that talk about their business and talk about our programs and our training and what we're doing here that helps them and just kind of keep us in tune with industry. And so at
Mm-hmm.
the meeting that we had in October, there was discussion about this, and so Cody Irwin and I got together and like, what could we do to meet that need? And this is what we came up with, and they've responded well. Right now we've got 8 students taking advantage of that from 2
Mm-hmm.
of our local employers here, and everybody's thrilled, and they're already talking about next time. So
That's awesome. I know working with you on other projects, when you get to the end or even in the middle and they say start talking about next time, that feels really good, knowing that we're meeting their needs and they're looking forward to partnering with us more in the
that's,
future.
yeah, that's the best thing they can tell you is next
Yeah,
time. It doesn't matter what else, but if they want to do it again, that means that we did something right. Yeah.
absolutely.
The other part of that one that's pretty cool is those students are able to come to class during the day. So
Mm,
we had some capacity available in Cody's afternoon section of his class, where those what are full-time employees are able to come to class during the day during their normal work day, so they're not having to give up time in the evening away from family or other things. So
hmm.
that's an also a really good option for them.
Very good. Um, so what other areas, just like name briefly, that you have apprenticeships going with? You've mentioned the industrial power, HVAC. What other areas do you have apprenticeships going in?
The other area that we're approved for sponsorship through the DOL is the collision repair,
Mm-hmm.
and that's another piece of our full-time automotive collision course. We had several changes in that program in the last year. One of those changes, the big change, was also response to industry request. We had a big advisory board meeting last spring, and our industry spoke about what they need from a training program and what would serve them well. And so we built a model to match those needs. And what we're doing in that program is the morning session is a full-time traditional section like it's always been, and
Mm-hmm.
the afternoon session is dedicated 100% to apprenticeship.
Okay.
And we have a new instructor there. His name is Jordan Short. He came out of industry from our district and has a really good passion for what he's doing and is doing a great job. So we're building this model from scratch where he's able to dedicate all of his afternoon time to apprenticeship, and um, it's going to be good for the reasons of the other program I talked about, having the flexibility to come during the day. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
our shops start at 6 or 7 a.m., so they have a lot of their work done by noon, and they're able to get away for maybe 1 or 2 days a week to come to a class to upskill. And it's kind of it's more like a 3-year commitment instead of a 1-year school, but they'll come for
Mm-hmm.
a day or two a week for a long time and learn a little bit and go back to work and put it in place. So we're
Very
excited about
good.
that. Those classes haven't actually started. They will start right after spring break.
Okay.
And there'll be also some short. I think his classes are broken down into 5-week courses at 6
Mm-hmm.
hours a week. So that's exciting. And we've got 8 or 9. I think we've got 8 registered apprenticeships in that program also that are going to be starting. So
Awesome. Very good. So Taylor asked the question, are you still looking to partner with businesses? And if so, what kinds?
I am excited to talk about any opportunities. And it seems like every question that comes up so far, there's been at least good ideas of how we can meet some of those needs. So yes, we
Mm-hmm.
are open to more discussion. Right now, we're kind of limited to what we can keep up with, and I get a little overzealous a little bit because I think we can keep
Yeah.
up with more than we can. So we're trying to keep it at a pace that we can continue to do well with. And so since this is also new, we're still learning what it takes to, as far as time commitment, to keep up and do well with them. But
Mm-hmm.
absolutely be open to discussion in any area. And I had a meeting this morning with a welding student that came from a meeting earlier this week with a welding employer that was really interested in apprenticeships in welding. And so I'm super excited about that one because I actually know more about that trade than I do the other ones that I've had to learn. So we are taking the right steps to start a registered apprenticeship in welding because it makes sense and fits for all the same reasons that the other two do as well. So welding's coming soon. And then another similar scenario with one of our automotive repair employers in our district. They had asked some questions about getting involved with this. So we're going to be setting that up as well pretty soon with just general auto repair apprenticeship. So those are the 3 areas that we're doing really well with, and the 2 areas that are coming soon. And then they can go on. We're going to run out of time, but we're in good discussion with concrete. We're working with a construction company in town that's starting a concrete apprenticeship. We don't have a full-time program that relates to that well, so we're going at that one a little bit different. We're going to be their school piece of it or their instruction piece of it, and they're going to be their own sponsor. So when Taylor asks where can we go, it's unlimited. Like there's an option. Everything looks a little different, and whether that's us being like extremely involved or partially involved or just helping make some connections or connecting the dots somewhere. So there's that the door's wide open. Anything.
For sure. No, I think that answers Jacqueline's questions about what other industries we will expand into. I think short answer is all of them. Long answer is eventually.
Yeah, I've got a list that I started. Like this is like the areas that I think we should be participating in, and this is like the ranking list, and all those, and where that trade lands on the list is response to industry request, and so automotive and welding both jumped up the list a little bit because industry was asking for it. So we'll bring your area up to the top as quick as we can. The 2 other big ones are plumbing and electrical. Those are the other 2 areas that are just really, really similar to HVAC as far as the demand and the needs and the apprenticeship model and all the things that they're doing anyway. So I think we'll have those 2 going at some point. And when people ask me when, I just say I don't know. As soon as we can. But they're definitely towards the top of the list.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. That's very kind. We love what we do here at Meridian too. And I think Joe's mentioned several times about responding to industry is really what we're doing. And it's so many people think about, trade schools as only being like what Joe's talked about with like collision repair and welding and HVAC. But I think you even have some of like non-registered apprenticeships going in our IT program, right?
Yeah, there was one in there. And the cool part is when I go to other states, like I've got I had so much to learn and I still have so much to learn. But when I would go to other states and hear about what they're doing, we've been doing a good job of this anyway. Like everything about career tech is about work-based learning. So we have always put a lot of effort into giving students real world experiences and getting them on the job and doing all the things that help them with their school and their training. So we've been doing that well anyway, and it's just fun to like take this to the next level. So yeah, it's definitely an exciting time and just being able to respond to employers and meet their needs, and it's really good.
Yeah, it's good. This is a great comment and compliment to you, Joe, from Claire Vanderpool, partnered over on Facebook. The Office of Workforce Development is extremely proud of the progress Meridian is making in apprenticeships. Thank you for all of your hard work in getting these programs running.
And I can mirror that with an extreme thank you to Claire and the rest of the team at the Oklahoma Commerce that's helped me. Jennifer Counts was in on this, is no longer there, but she was rolled out a lot of things that helped us get started when she was there. And then I've been working with Claire and Joe Cox and John Woods, and they're all like very supportive and helped me in a big way. There's no way we could be where we're at today without the help from them and many others. I know we're out of time, but there's tons of people to thank for where we're at right now.
Absolutely. Is there any last questions from anybody who's watching? I mean, we said 30 minutes, but there's nobody that's going to like stop us if we go a few minutes over.
Okay.
Because if anybody has any questions, I'd love to be able to address them because it has been such a good conversation. And I know every time I hear you talk about it, I learn something new. And I think you are, like you said, you're still learning even, 8 months, 9 months into the job.
Every week I learn something more.
Yeah, that's awesome. So,
One more thing that I would like to mention just briefly is the funding support. And Claire, with the
mhm,
Oklahoma Office of Workforce Development, there's a lot of support for this right now, and this isn't why we do this. We do this because it's good training, and we do this
mhm,
because our employers need. This is what they need. So everything we're doing is our motives are all about the quality of the training, but the funding is also there to support this in some ways. So that's, again, it's not why we do it, but it's also a good advantage to doing what we're doing. So if you want to learn more about opportunities are there in that, then we definitely could share some resources with you there that makes this a little more possible.
okay, very good. And Chris has a question. If someone's interested in signing up, how do they do it? And I think this is kind of a two-sided question. So if an employer is interested, what do they do? And also if, somebody who wants to upskill and sees the opportunity through what you've talked about for apprenticeships, what could that type of person do to get involved?
Yeah, we're already receiving some calls of like, what do I need to do to get in this? And there's really two ways to get in. One way is through one of our full-time programs, and that would be what I'm calling like an instructor sponsored or instructor approval. So if you're in a full-time program and learning the trade, and you're at a spot where it looks like it'd be a good time to transition into the apprenticeship model, and the instructor, and everybody finds you find an employer that's willing to partner with you on that, and then a student can become an apprentice instead of a student. That's the one way to get in. The other way is for an employer that wants to send one of their already current full-time employees. So that's would be like an employer-sponsored entry. So two ways to get in: employer-sponsored entry or a instructor-sponsored or promoted, whatever you want to call it.
Very good. Very good. So I think that will be it for now. Thank you, Joe, for joining me on our first Meridian Tech live stream, the Ascent. I think it's been very valuable sharing what you're doing with the apprenticeship model, not only for companies, but also for the individuals that are going to work for those companies. Mark your calendars, everybody who's here. We'd love to have you back next time. We are doing these live streams on the first Friday of the month at noon Central Time. Next month is, I don't remember the day of the week. It's the first Friday. But our guest for April is Krista Scamahorn. She is one of our adjunct instructors for the leadership and staff development side of things. And she will also be speaking at a lunch and learn I am hosting at our South Campus in Guthrie on April 18th. So Krista is a dynamic individual. She's very passionate about what she does, and you all will absolutely love her. So please mark your calendars for that. I believe that's the 7th. And tune in for the Ascent on that day. So again, if you want to know more about what we do here at Meridian, especially in our division, you can visit meridiantech.edu/workforce. Joe and I are both a part of that team, and we would love to visit with you more about what we can do for you and for your company. So if there's nothing else, then we will sign off, and we will see you in April on the Ascent.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Bye-bye.